Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1436. 1436. And I am your host, Mike Matthews, broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Podcaster Valleymont, the last place on earth. And today, we'll hear from Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, John Deere the engineer, and we'll get to a segment called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That's pretty interesting. Some interesting things that may or may not affect you in today's world, I know.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm probably gonna get affected by Hurricane Irma coming up. I'm gonna be on the Atlantic coast. That's what's up. And I'm gonna visit my mom in Daytona Beach, and we're gonna walk around, and we're going to try to reach the dry land.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I'm hoping it's gonna be fine. You know, I'm gonna think positive. I'm gonna call her today. She's gonna say, "Oh,
Mike's
shuts,"
Daily
because that's what she calls me.
Podcast.
And she'll say, "Shuts."
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's all good in the hood. Because she likes to throw out some of that 90s hip-hop lingo. You know, I have been a big fan of wonderful Travel Channel type eating shows where they go to different restaurants all around the world. I love that. However, look who just walked in.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Why don't you finish your thought?
Why don't you just thank you for that suggestion? Yes, I love those type of shows, but I do notice that the hosts and the food that is, I'll say it this way, the food that is always shown in those Travel Channel, Food Channel type shows, look who else walked in, is never really ever good for you. I mean, it's always like big... It's always first it has to do with some meat. Some animal had to die. And I'm not a vegetarian, but I have no problem with vegetarians. They're fine people. I dated a vegetarian for a while. I tried to be a vegetarian for a while. This is back in the 90s. That didn't go so well. But the fact is, they never show anything healthy on those shows. It's always some animal died. Some huge fatty meat or whatever, and Andrew Zimmern and Anthony Bourdain, they get so excited.
And here's today's podcast picture.
They're so happy about it. So I showed today's podcast pictures of a big hamburger. No, it's not. It's of a part of the East Bay called the San Leandro Marina, and this was on a much cooler day. However, I must say, there was a nice breeze blowing last night, and it felt so good as I walked the wonderful Basil the Boxer. We were walking along, and oh, so much cooler. He's so much happier now that the temperature's gone down a little bit. But oh, this weather! Has September always been the crazy weather month, or is it because of global warming? Because global warming is probably the cause of it.
Wrong.
No, it's true.
All right.
So, my point being, look who else walked in.
Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman.
And this is John Deere the engineer. Yes, those cooking shows and Travel Channel restaurant shows never have food that's good for you. Seriously, it's always like some animal's eyeball or some... Yeah, I mean, it could be a fish. They pull... And I don't like watching them kill it. And, I know that's how food comes to us in the meat world. It's some animal had to die, and that's sad. But you know what? I really don't eat that much steak anymore. Will I turn down a steak? No. I'm sorry. But still, I don't eat it as much as I used to. I mean, I'm talking like hamburger. I'm beef. I'm not eating that much beef, I guess is what I'm saying. But I seem to eat a lot of chicken, and I apologize to my friend here about that. And to you too, Cricket, because I'm looking at you next. I hear you have a lot of protein. Just kidding. That's pretty bad. Oh, and I don't go there anymore. Oh, please. Hey, so my point being is that we need to, as a nation, stop watching these shows. And I need to stop watching these shows. You know what? I pledge to you now I'm going to stop watching Andrew Zimmern and Anthony Bourdain. I really only watch it when I'm at my other job on the weekend. And it's just sort of there in the background as I'm doing work. And I'll glance over and go, oh, that looks delicious. Oh, that's so bad for you. But, hey. Oh, and then the whole thing with the man versus food, where he's got to eat a huge... That's like everything that people hate America for. You know, all this gluttony and stuff that we do. It's just wrong. And as Trump would say, it's not right.
Wrong.
But I guess that was my point today. Oh, and this other guy I know, he's like, yeah, they tell us, we're supposed to eat vegetables and fruits and stuff, but that's expensive to eat that way. That costs a lot of money, is what he was saying. So basically, you're going to eat like food that's bad for you, and you need a healthy diet. You got to have vegetables in your diet, and you can't have the frickin' a French fry is not a vegetable. It's a delicious desserty type thing because it's been fried and it's got oil and it's not a vegetable. Yeah, it started out as a vegetable of some kind, but you got to eat salad or even frozen vegetables that have been flash frozen and they haven't added anything to it. That's good for you too. That's the healthy portion of my show today. But MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com has all the past podcast pictures, and there's pictures of me on there. I'm not a gleaming Adonis, but I do know that you gotta turn the corner and can't eat a bunch of burgers. I know, because I used to eat a bunch of burgers all the time. And the radio world, the radio biz, with it so busy and you don't get much of time for a break and all that, you do eat crap. So I have tried over the past several years to get out of that. MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com also has links to the Amazon rainforest. Nope, I mean the Amazon website. That'd be cool if I had links to the Amazon, but I don't. But the shopping place, if you're going to buy anything on Amazon, go through that link at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, and it helps out the show. There's also a link to PayPal if you'd like to help us out that way. You'll get a special greeting from all the Cafe Anyway characters. And if you'd like to comment on the show, if you'd like to email me, there's a link there. If you'd like to call me, 336-MM-DAILY, or you can text me too. Text charging fees, they apply, as you probably have heard before. MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. 336-MM-DAILY is my phone number, by the way. And I did run into Bob yesterday. Bob, back from his Eclipse trip. And he gave Basil a nice rub down. He was petting him and kind of massaging him. And Basil loved it oh so much. I run into Bob as I walk around this park near my house in Podcastro Valley, Vermont. And he told me about his trip, told me about his kids. We had a great conversation. So he says he's been listening to the show. So if he's listening now, kudos to you! And bull sound effects to you. And robot sound effects to you.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger!
And other sound effects. Maybe a little mariachi music? No, that's all right. That's neither here nor there or over there or whatever. I guess we got to get to the serious news part of the show. Why don't we do that and get you informed? Here we go with the segment called...
It's pretty interesting.
Awesome.
Burgermaster.
Oh, my. As the one... Actually, we should just have a segment Actually, we're calling this segment today.
Oh, my.
Yes, that's what this segment is. Okay, first off, what's this? North Korea. I know. I had a big rant about it yesterday. North Korea may very well have the ability to kill millions of Americans without directly firing on U.S. soil. For the first time, their news agency warned it could hit the U.S. with an electromagnetic pulse onslaught. The biggest danger would be shorting out the power grid, especially on the East Coast. Huh? How can they do that when they're on the other side of the... All right, well, this Director of Defense Studies at the Center for the National Interest said to Fox News, the biggest danger would be shorting out the power grid, especially on the East Coast. Imagine a situation where large sections of the U.S. had no power. Imagine New York or Washington, D.C. with no power for just a week. The implications would be hard to fathom. The casualty rates would be off the charts. An EMP delivered by a nuclear weapon would not just fry grids, but also carry the destructive power of an atomic device. That in and of itself is going to kill thousands, if not millions, depending on the size of it and where it is dropped. Also, nuclear weapons carry radioactive fallout. Blah, blah. We know all this. So how would North Korea pull off an EMP attack? A hydrogen bomb detonated at a high altitude would create an electromagnetic pulse that would knock out key infrastructure, namely prominent parts of the U.S. electrical grid. The higher the bomb's detonation, the wider the range of destruction. An altitude of just under 250 miles around the orbit of the International Space Station would annihilate electronics in a majority of the mainland, including parts of neighboring Canada and Mexico, analysts have said. North Korea exhibited its capacity to reach such altitudes in satellite launches in both 2012 and 2016. An EMP attack, experts warn, doesn't require definitive guidance systems as the area affected is so widespread. An attack could cut power to healthcare facilities and cripple municipal facilities and utilities. Okay. And then the State Department and Department of Energy did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Interesting. Well, I think that's a bit of paranoia, but it's definitely something we need to think about. But still, does North Korea want to do that? They are surrounded by our allies. They would be obliterated. They'd be gone. We would have to, become Grizzly Adams and move up into the wilderness and live off the land and not deal with the electric grid anymore and that kind of thing. They would be gone. They would be a cindering mound of nothing. All there would be left is that weird bouffant hairdo of Kim Jong-un just sitting there, charred, I guess is my point. All right. Barclays Research said yesterday that the incoming Category 5 Hurricane Irma, it's going to hit Florida later this week or early next week. Wonderful, just as I'm about to go there. Could be the largest ever in insured damage in the U.S., topping the record currently held by Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Given the potential magnitude of the storm, as well as the potential to impact a highly populated area, we think Irma's insured damage in Florida could be the largest ever in the U.S., perhaps equivalent to Hurricane Katrina, said Barclay. They have estimated a repeat of the 1926 Miami hurricane that resulted in $130 billion of insured damage. According to the National Hurricane Center, Irma became the strongest hurricane on record in the Atlantic basin outside of the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico, with winds topping 175 miles per hour. Now, meanwhile, the Caribbean is getting ready, the most powerful Atlantic storm heading their way. It made its first landfall at the islands early this morning, churning along a path pointing towards Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, before possibly heading for Florida over the weekend. The eye of the Hurricane Irma passed over Barbuda around 1:47 a.m., the National Weather Service said. Residents said over local radio that phone lines went down. Heavy rain and howling winds raked the neighboring island of Antigua, sending debris flying as people huddled in their homes or government shelters. Let's see, ripped off roofs. Storm had a maximum sustained wind of 185 miles per hour. Jeez. The winds are going to fluctuate slightly today, they say, but the storm will remain at Category 4 or 5 strength for the next day or two. One of the things I was talking about that show on the media, and they were talking about how when a storm gets downgraded, people go, oh, well, it's better then, it's not so bad. Well, we saw from Hurricane Harvey that it's really bad. Even if it downgrades, you still get the rain. And the tropical storm Harvey was just as bad as the Hurricane Harvey because rain just dumped and caused all the flooding and, the rest. All right, well, let's go with one sort of interesting bit of news outside of the U.S., and that would be in Northern Afghanistan. The U.S. apologized for dropping leaflets depicting a dog with a Quranic verse written across its body. And that is highly offensive to Muslims. A photo of the alleged leaflet circulated on social media. It shows a lion chasing a white dog, the same color as the Taliban's flag, with the holy verse, "There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah," superimposed on its body. Dogs are seen as unclean creatures. Oh, don't listen to them, Basil. The Association of Islam, as well, thinks that a canine in deeply religious Afghanistan has angered many people. Oh, the association has angered people. This image. Okay, NATO forces frequently drop leaflets over large swaths of Afghanistan in an effort to persuade locals against supporting insurgents. As we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast. Somewhere in Podcastra Valley. Well, dang. All right. I guess that's pretty much the show. I gotta get going. But enjoy the rest of your day. Let's hope for better things. And let's eat better, too. Okay, that's a good game plan. All right. Woo! I'm just... wow. Okay, here we go. Have a good one.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!